The automotive world is in complete chaos as Matt Armstrong reveals Ferrari is already winning the fight. Despite his ownership rights and right to repair, he's left with a car locked behind Ferrari software. And I know what you're thinking. This can't be real. A car you legally own, a car you paid for, a car you physically rebuilt with your own hands, and a corporation's lines of code get to decide whether it runs or not. We're going to get into all of that today, but first, let me just set the scene for you. Because this is not a normal rebuild. This is not even a normal difficult rebuild. This is the rebuild that broke me. Ferrari did something that Bugatti couldn't. And if you've followed this channel for any time at all, you know the Bugatti was no joke. That thing fought back at every single turn. But Ferrari brought lawyers, software engineers, and a policy document to a fistfight. And somehow, that's more effective than anything Bugatti ever threw at us. There's an 18,000-pound battery sitting in this build that might be completely useless. Not because we broke it, not because we fitted it wrong, because Ferrari won't talk to us, because the software won't let us in. Because somewhere in Maranello, someone decided that the people who actually fix cars for a living aren't allowed to fix this one. The 296 GTB is one of the most advanced hybrid supercars on the planet right now. And that hybrid tech, that beautiful, terrifying, incredibly complex hybrid tech, is the reason this project nearly destroyed us. When you mix a twin-turbo V6 with a 122 kilowatt electric motor and a high-voltage battery system, you don't just get breathtaking performance. You get a car that requires specialist diagnostic tools, Ferrari-only software access, and dealer-authorized technicians at almost every single step. Try doing that when Ferrari won't return your calls. This is already the most frustrating rebuild on the channel. And I say that as someone who has rebuilt Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces, a Bugatti Veyron, and more insurance write-offs than I can count on two hands. None of them came close to this. If you're new here, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button right now, because the journey we're about to take you on is one you do not want to miss halfway through. And if you've been here since the beginning, you already know this channel doesn't do things by halves. Hit the like button, it genuinely helps more people find this story, and trust me, more people need to hear what Ferrari is getting away with. So let's go back to the beginning. The car arrives. A Ferrari 296 GTB. Salvage title, accident damage, structurally sound enough to work with. On paper, this is an extraordinary opportunity. The 296 is a car that costs north of £250,000 brand new. Even in this condition, even with the damage, what we're looking at is something genuinely special. A 830 horsepower hybrid machine that represents Ferrari's vision of the future. And that future, we would very quickly discover, was not built with people like us in mind. The first sign something was deeply wrong came early. We start doing our assessment, going through the damage, figuring out the repair path, and we make some calls. Standard procedure. You reach out to specialists, you reach out to dealers. You try to establish a relationship so that when you need parts or diagnostic support, there's someone on the other end of the phone. And what we got back from Ferrari's network was essentially silence. Not unhelpful silence. Not we're busy, callback silence. But deliberate, policy-driven, we know exactly what you're doing, and the answer is no silence. Ferrari will not assist in the repair of a modified or salvage-titled vehicle outside of their authorized network. That's the policy. And their authorized network, they want nothing to do with this. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because a policy is one thing. A policy is paper. Paper burns. What doesn't burn is software. And Ferrari knew that. The 296 GTB runs on Ferrari's proprietary diagnostic system called SDCM. Without access to that system, you cannot initialize the hybrid battery, you cannot calibrate the electric motor, you cannot clear fault codes. You cannot critically tell the car that the high-voltage system is safe to operate. The car is physically rebuilt, mechanically sound, and it will not start. Because a piece of software that lives on a server in Italy says no. Let that sink in for a second. We start trying to find workarounds, because that's what we do on this channel. We find the path when the path doesn't exist, and almost immediately we hit the second massive problem, the radiator relocation. Because of the accident damage, the front end has been reworked, and the radiator placement on the 296 is not where you'd expect it. Ferrari uses a complex cooling layout that integrates the hybrid battery, thermal management with the combustion engine cooling circuit. They share infrastructure. They share fluid paths. They share sensors. So when you start moving things around to fit the repair, you're not just relocating a radiator. You're potentially disrupting the entire thermal management logic of the hybrid system. And the car knows. Oh, the car absolutely knows. So we do what we can. We document everything. We log every fault code we can access through the OBD port, which gives us a partial picture, like reading a book with half the pages torn out. We bring in a specialist who has worked with Ferrari hybrid systems in a racing context, not road cars, racing, and even he looks at the software lockout situation and shakes his head. His exact words were, "They really don't want you in here." No kidding. The community starts getting involved at this point, which is one of my favorite things about what we've built here. People who work in automotive software, former dealer technicians, engineers from adjacent industries, all reaching out with ideas, with contacts, with information. Someone from continental Europe comes back to us with a lead on a diagnostic tool that might give us partial SDCM access. It's not a full solution. It won't let us do everything we need. But it might let us clear certain fault codes and run basic initialization sequences on the battery management system. Might. We're chasing a maybe, but at this stage, a maybe is everything. We order the tool, we wait. Because this whole build has been about waiting for parts that have to come from Italy, waiting for specialists who can fit us in between their actual authorized work, waiting for answers that may never come through official channels. The bespoke nature of this car, the way Ferrari integrates systems that on any other manufacturer's vehicle would be modular and accessible, means that almost nothing we've needed has been available off the shelf. Custom brackets, custom pipe sections, modified looms. Every single component we've had to adapt or fabricate has taken time and money and expertise that the project budget did not originally account for. And this is the broader point, isn't it? This is the thing that sits underneath all the technical chaos. Ferrari has engineered a car that is technically repairable, but practically unrepairable without their cooperation, and they have chosen not to cooperate. Not with independent shops, not with skilled rebuilders, not with people who legally own the vehicle. The right to repair movement has been talking about this for years in the context of phones and laptops and agricultural equipment. But here it is, live, in front of us, in the form of a £250,000 sports car that runs on resentment and proprietary software. The partial diagnostic tool arrives. We plug in. The room is genuinely tense. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. This is the moment that determines whether the last several months of work have been building towards something or whether we're looking at a very expensive, very beautiful, very stationary sculpture. The tool connects, it reads, and it gives us something. Not everything, but something. Several fault codes respond to clear commands. The battery management system shows us more of its status than we've seen before. The initialization sequence, the one we need to get the high voltage system to a state where we can safely attempt to start, begins to run, and then it stops. Mid-sequence, error, authentication required. Ferrari's system has detected an unauthorized diagnostic connection and locked the sequence. The car in real time pushed us back out. It felt like something out of a science fiction film. The machine protecting itself from the people trying to help it, or from Ferrari's perspective, protecting Ferrari's business model from the people trying to circumvent it. Depending on which side of this you stand on, both of those framings are accurate. The conversation about what comes next is still ongoing. There are further options being explored, options I'm not going to detail right now, because I don't want to tip our hand before we know if they work. What I will say is that we are not done. We have never been done on a build just because the manufacturer didn't want us to be. And Ferrari, for all their engineering brilliance and all their corporate muscle, has not made a car that is impossible. They've made one that is very, very difficult. And difficult is our entire thing. If this story has grabbed you, if you're as frustrated and fascinated by this as we are, subscribe to the channel right now, because the next chapter of this build is going to be the most important one. We're going to find out whether this car ever runs, whether the system can be beaten, and what it actually means to own something in 2025 when software writes the rules. Hit that subscribe, turn on notifications, and come back.